Hi there folks. In this video we're going to have a look at a detachable magazine conversion kit to fit the Remington 700, and in this case this is going to fit a 223 Remington 700. You can see the sticker there which denotes this kit as having a 5-round magazine, and it fits 204 or 223 Remingtons. And this kit is made in the US. It's manufactured by a company called Adaptive Technologies Incorporated, and it's distributed by Legacy Sports International. This is probably the most reasonably priced detachable magazine conversion kit that you're going to find for the Remington 700. Many of the bottom metal replacement kits that are on the market are hundreds of dollars, and I guess that's fine if you can get somebody else to pay for it. I think a lot of the users of those conversion kits are police departments and so forth and so on, and they can find the money in their budgets, but the rest of us have to pay our own way. And this kit is, as far as I know, it's the most economical one on the market. You can see the price that I paid there was $117.99 at the local gun shop, and that's in Canadian dollars. Convert that to American and that works out to that's about $92 US, so not too bad altogether. So it comes in this blister pack, and which is kind of nice. You can actually open it up and have a look at it in the gun shop without destroying the packaging, which I did before I bought it. And what you get is a magazine and a floor plate. So we've got our magazine here, and it's a plastic or polymer magazine. It's a single position feed but double column, so 2 columns of cartridges come up to a single feed position. Now this one's marked 5-round only, 223, 204. The 10-round magazines are the exact same exterior dimensions. I think they've got, this one's got a block on the inside to limit it. I think that's mostly for hunting regulations in some areas, which will, require reduced capacity magazines for hunting. So the 10-round magazines are the very same format. They do list kits available with both 5 and 10. Unfortunately, the retailer only had the 5-round ones, but it's not a big deal. They have extra magazines in stock. The extra magazines locally are, I think they're $62 Canadian, which works out to like $48 US, which is a pretty good price. And here is sort of the heart of the kit, and it's another plastic component, injection molded by the looks of it. Seems like a fairly sturdy material. Like anything plastic, some care would have to be taken. I'm not sure if this would survive being subjected to great deals of abuse, but since this is a range rifle and it may see some occasional hunting use, I don't think I'll be too hard on it. The only real issues I could see would be perhaps where the screws tighten through. The plastic is not terribly thick there, so I think you'd have to be fairly careful with how much force you use to tighten the screws down. So as you can see, this follows the same basic general shape that a Remington 700 trigger guard would have, even to the taper on the bottom side. So it's a fairly decent sized trigger guard. It's not quite as tactical looking as a lot of the milled aluminum and steel aftermarket products would be. The profile is a little bit different. It drops down below the line of the stock. You can see this line here is roughly where the stock would intersect. So this drops down a little bit below the standard stock level, and that would tend to reinforce and brace the unit. The magazine catch is at the front. It's just this plastic lever, and it's got a kind of a triangular shaped section that intersects with the magazine to lock it in place. You can see this part here is where the magazine locks into, and having a V notch like that should keep this from wearing to any significant degree. If you have a flat kind of a knife edge, that might tend to wear more so, but that V block should maintain its position. If it does wear, it should wear in, so hopefully these magazines will hold up. We won't know until we've used this a bunch, but anyway, we'll give it our best try to see how they hold up. So let's take the magazine apart and see what's inside. We have one little detent down at the bottom that we need to press to get the floor plate off. So I'll just use this Allen wrench to push that down. And we can slide that out of the way. Keep your finger over the bottom because there's some little tiny bit of spring pressure here. So there's our floor plate. It's a fairly substantial piece of plastic. and it's kind of grooved to fit over the base of the magazine. We've got a retainer on the bottom. That's our little pin that's stuck into the floor plate. And this post here is, as far as I can tell, that's what limits the capacity of this magazine to 5. I think with a very quick amount of work with a hacksaw, you could cut that flush, and I expect you'd have the same thing that you'd have with the 10-round magazine. I don't have one of those 10-rounders yet, but I do plan on picking one up if this thing works the way it's supposed to. We've got a fairly light gauge wound spring here, like a wire spring. That's a little bit light, but anyway, we'll see if that does the job. And we've got our follower, and it's got a fairly beefy part at the front here, which should keep it from tipping in the magazine. You can see the configuration of this part fits in with the spring. This tab on the spring fits into that, and as the spring compresses, you can see that these kind of bump into each other, so I suspect that's what limits the mag capacity. And of course, just the magazine body itself. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a single position feed from a double column, so the cartridges sit in the center of the receiver and get fed straight into the chamber, which is a lot less complicated than side to side. And when they're adapting a design like the Remington 700, which started off life as basically a Mauser style 2-position feed, you are dealing with a rifle that already has its built-in feed lips, so in order to get around that, they basically have gone to a single position feed. Anyway, it's a fairly sturdy looking mag for plastic. You can put a bit of torsion on that. It doesn't seem to flex a whole lot. There's a little bit of flex, but of course it is plastic, and you expect a little bit of flexing. The magazine body appears to be the same length that they would use on a 308 size kit. They also do make these in 243, 308, 7mm 08 is another size, and I think 22-250, which is probably on the same basic format anyway, with slightly different feed lips, of course. Anyway, so let's put this thing back together again and have a look at what it looks like installed on the rifle. So it's pretty simple to put it back together, just the same way that it came apart. Now the manufacturer does recommend putting this into the rifle, or assembling it onto the rifle with the magazine in place so that you can get it indexed correctly. And there are some instructions that come with it. They do have they do say it's mostly a drop-in fit for synthetic stocks. However, I guess there can be some minor fitting required for wood stocks. So we shall see. Hopefully this is a drop-in fit. My Remington 700 in 223 is a synthetic stock version. It's actually got a HS Precision stock, which is a really good quality stock with an aluminum chassis underneath. So we'll see how well this fits into that stock. So the first step in assembling this magazine conversion kit onto the Remington is to make sure that your rifle is in fact unloaded. You can see I've removed the bolt, and I have checked the chamber to make sure there's no rounds. We'll also drop the floor plate here and check the magazine. So we're now sure that the rifle is empty. Of course, this magazine conversion kit is only going to work on the models of Remington that have a dropped floor plate magazine like this one. There are basically two styles of Remington magazine out there. There's this style, which you will find on the BDL models of Remington, and there is the ADL style of magazine, which is a blind magazine, so the stock actually covers up the bottom of the magazine port. Obviously that type of magazine is not going to work with this style of conversion kit. You'd have to replace the stock in that case if you wanted to use a detachable magazine kit, but there are lots of stocks on the market that you could get to facilitate that if it was required. Anyway, we're going to need an Allen wrench to take this off, because this is held on with Allen screws, and these are 5/32. Older Remingtons will have a slotted screwdriver instead of this setup, so use the appropriately fitting screwdriver. Anyway, it does help to keep the floor plate open when you're doing this, because otherwise you're fighting the pressure of the spring and the whole floor plate will want to actually come out on you. So it doesn't hurt to keep that open while you're doing this. So it's a pretty straightforward thing to do. It's always harder to do this around a camera tripod because you're trying to work around it, but anyway, we'll try to do that without banging into the tripod too much. And there are our 2 screws. You can see the longer one is at the back and the shorter one's at the front. Should you set those aside and forget which is which, that's the order those go in. And just a simple matter of pulling out the trigger guard and the bottom metal. You can see that that's a hinged piece, some sort of an alloy. I'm not sure if that's a aluminum or if it's a zinc die casting. I suspect that it's a zinc die casting in this case, but I could be wrong. And there's one other component you have to remove, and that's the magazine box, and it just sits in between the receiver and the bottom metal. So there's the magazine box. You can see that this is blocked off at the rear because the 223 is a shorter round than the rifle was originally intended for. So we'll just set our original parts aside. And the manufacturer of the conversion kit recommends that you install the plastic floor plate trigger guard assembly with the magazine inserted into it. I guess that's to help with indexing. So we'll just put that in place. And of course things move around when you take the screws out, so we'll have to hold that in place. And see what I'm doing wrong here. There we go. That just slides into place, and then we'll reinsert our screws. Short one at the front. Get that started. And the long one at the rear. So we'll just get those started, and then we'll check to make sure that everything is reasonably well lined up. And after that, we'll snug them down. So I'm just going to go till I feel them sort of bottom out a little bit. I think that's bottomed out there. And the same thing with the back one. And then just have a look at everything to make sure that the barrel channel, that everything's sort of sitting square in the stock. Seems to be pretty good. So we'll snug these up a little bit more. The manufacturer of this kit recommends that the screws be tightened to no more than 45 inch-pounds of torque. I'm going to have to go over and borrow a torque adjustable screwdriver from one of my buddies to make sure that this is set up correctly, because I don't actually have one of my own. But at the moment we'll just lightly snug these up. I can see that there would be a real potential to split the plastic where the screws go through if you over tighten this, so definitely you don't want to be ham-handed with that. Anyway, there's what it looks like installed. So the fit is reasonably good. A little bit of a gap between the stock here and that little ridge, but that's no big deal. That's sort of to be understood that there's going to be some minor variances on the outside contours, because there have been a lot of stocks made for these rifles over the years. This is a stock made by HS Precision for Remington, and there doesn't seem to be any interference with the trigger guard or anything like that, or with the trigger. Magazine locks in, comes out easily. So we'll go get the bolt and put the bolt in it. So we've got the bolt reinstalled, and everything seems to cycle appropriately. So the only thing I have to do now is get these screws torqued to the correct settings, and then after that, in part 2, we'll go to the range and we'll try this thing out to see how well it works. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later.